Welcome, my tarot friends, in yet another episode in our Under the Magnifying Glass series where we are looking at the Herbcrafters Tarot. Today we are going to be looking at the Adelitas or Knights. So let's firstly look into what Adelitas or Knights represent in tarot in general, and then we're going to look into each card and I will share with you what I noticed when I journeyed into them, and then we will compare that to what is written in the guidebook. So let's just dive in, shall we? Knights in tarot represent action, adventure, change, and exploration. They are explorers of the new, deeper understanding to life and connection to spirit. The Knights are on a quest to test their own abilities and skills. They are young and courageous, willing to take risks and doing what is necessary to follow the heart and dreams or their visions. They indicate action, movement, change, travel, people coming and going and moving to new locations. Usually Knights represent teenagers or young adults, if you read them as people. Knights have a free spirit, which brings them spontaneity as they explore and exercise their perception and applying their skills into the world. The first quarter of the moon is associated with the Knights, and that represents crisis in action. It calls for action to face our fears and further our development and maturity, moving us out of our safe and comfortable cocoon into the world of the unexpected. And then if you look into the guidebook, what it says about Adelitas, which means warriors. Adelitas in the Herbcrafters Tarot represent activism, drive, and autonomy. The cards feature plants that are controversial in some way. The cards are focused on remedies for the young girl emerging into womanhood, but can be used also by others as well. The plants themselves poke and scratch. The medicine is spicy and has a bite to it. These plants drive the Herbcrafter to different experiences that challenge her resilience. They prove her loyalty to the plants and the ancient wisdom. They invite her to explore the world with passion and creativity. They represent the fight we often encounter when first defending our path to the outside world. Adelitas approach adventures with conviction and righteousness. They call us to a time of drive and fortitude. They are warriors of the elements, showing us how to defeat and serve. As guides, they offer the gift of activism. But I can't help but notice that there is a connection between Adelitas and the fives in this deck. Because if you remember, the Five of Air, Sage, was all about activism and, the protecting the plants that are endangered in some sort of a way. So now let's firstly look into the Adelita of Air, which is represented by the plant oregano. I'm not sure how to pronounce it. Is it oregano or oregano? Please let me know in the comments below. In my language, you say oregano. So what I noticed when I journeyed into this card was that the energy of this drawing is so open and free. The sky is blue and open. One can sense the warmth, soft wind blowing. There is a sense of summer warmth on this picture and throughout all the Adelitas if you look at them. Perhaps this is the hint to the element of fire that is sometimes associated with the Knights. In Thoth deck, fire is associated to the Knights, but in the Rider-Waite-Smith, air is associated to the Knights. I personally read it as fire. Let me know in the comments below, how do you read Knights? Elementally, like as fire or as air? We can notice that there is a lot of blue in this picture, and I associate blue with the throat chakra, which means speaking your truth loud and clear. Adelita is wearing a white dress. We can see it here a tiny bit in the corner. And the white color to me means purity and authenticity, clarity in what she wants and in what are her intentions. She is creating some sort of a steam bath, so using potent and strong plants. And again, this to me is a message of being strong and persistent in expressing your own truth. I think that there is a candle in the middle. It could just be sun's reflection, but it looks like a candle to me. And maybe this is a hint to the element of fire again. We also notice that there is lots of green in the picture, and of course the green color is connected to the heart chakra and having an open heart, expressing your true voice that comes from your open heart. Oregano is a potent spicy herb, again To me, this means a connection to being potently expressive in your message. Now let's look what it says in the guidebook. So the first 3 messages are: speak from between your legs, shout, sing and scream. Declare your truth loudly and without fear. So it says that the herbs that are in the basket here are roses, calendula and oregano. The herbcraft arranges her steaming chair in a beautiful place in the garden near a healthy oregano plant. Soft, warm blankets lie folded nearby. The Adelita of Air is a champion for truth. She vows to remove the shame around women's bodies, beginning by loving her own. I love that. I love that so much. She strengthens the seat of her voice with vaginal steams. She knows oregano is more than just a kitchen herb. It is also an ally for women, easing menstrual pain and menopausal symptoms, bringing on menses and increasing warmth and circulation to the pelvic region. She understands what ancient women knew about the connection between vagina and the throat. When one is constricted, so is the other. Wow, that gives me shivers. This is so powerful. This is so powerful. So she sings during birth and screams during sex. She allows throat and vagina to open in order to express herself fully. She is blunt and clear. As Clarissa Pinkola Estes, author of Women Who Run with the Wolves, states, she speaks from between her legs. This card is so flippin' powerful. I am in awe. It is so good. Wow. I had no idea about the oregano being a medicine for the symptoms of menopause and of menstruation. This is so interesting. And then if you look into the crafting, it says, I like this one. Practice activities such as harvesting herbs in a squat position to open your pelvis. When you cook with oregano, don't forget to sing. Love that. Okay, now let's look into Adelita of Fire and where we have Cayenne. And when I journeyed into this card, what I noticed was, the first thing that I noticed actually, was the warmth of this picture. Like either the sun, like evening sun is shining on this scene, or there might be a nice warm fire next to her. In any case, it's a very warm, fiery type of feeling to it. And again, a hint to the fire, maybe. I noticed then that we have garlic, onion and rosemary here, and obviously cayenne peppers. And all of these are very strong and bold medicines that ignite our fire and make us strong. She is crafting, so there is action on the picture. And of course, the Adelitas are people who are doing things, right? Their action, there is movement present in the cards. And Cayenne is very spicy and stimulating. So her character is probably similar to, like maybe bold, fiery and fierce. I noticed the flower bracelet she wears, and it adds to her character. We see the colors of lower 3 chakras here, so red, orange and yellow, which are root, sacral and solar plexus chakra. And if we look into the meanings of these, like a very basic ones, so the root chakra is about ancient teachings and traditions and knowing where you belong. And then the orange one, the sacral chakra, is about creative expression. And the solar plexus chakra, which is yellow, is about being true to yourself, showing your true self without shame or holding back. This whole scene has a very magical, witchy feel to it, and almost feels like a sacred ritual or a traditional potion making, which would make sense as we are in the fire suit, which is closely connected to spirituality and magic in this specific deck. Now, if we look into the guidebook and what it says there, the first 3 points are: dare to take a risk, be bold, like I noticed with all these herbs here. Defend the integrity of the grandmother's teachings. Heat erupts, then heals. You see the grandmother's teachings, right? The ritual, something that is to do with traditions. So I got that from this picture as well. Oh, and we even have horseradish and ginger here, thyme too, and vinegar. So these are all very spicy and very bold medicines that, like it says, they heat up and then heal us. So it continues that the Adelita of Fire fiercely defends her passion and her rights. Like the warm, stimulating medicine of cayenne pepper, she is bold and relentless in her advocacy. She vows to protect folk traditions. See, traditions. She knows that access to this ancient remedy may be threatened. She's determined to honor the ancestors by keeping the people's medicine available to all. She is inspired by countless teachers who have freely shared information with her as she has learned about herbal medicine. She fights for the integrity of the community by passing on what has been given to her. She inspires others to follow her lead. Wow, so powerful. Again, very powerful cards here. And if I choose a point from crafting here, empower others, host a community fire cider making party in your home. Oh, I love this one as well. I need to read this one too. Stand up to corporate greed. Craft your own fire cider. And now if we look into the Adelita of water. So these next two plants are not known to me. I don't know them. So I only went by what I see specifically. And the first one is called Ocotillo. I'm not sure if I pronounced this correctly. My observations with this painting or with this drawing were that, first of all, I have to say all these pinks and blues and turquoises, they're so beautiful in this picture. The pink we see here and in the drink, and it is connected to the top of the heart chakra, which is all about the unconditional love and free loving, which makes a lot of sense for the, Knight of Cups, who is often described as the helpless romantic person. It feels like this Adelita took a break on her virtues through the landscapes to perhaps refresh her spirits with a cup of Ocotillo elixir. The water in the background, the flowing river, reminds me of, flowing love. And it feels like Adelita's heart is flowing with love too. She feels connected to her intuition as she uses the resources that are given to her at this time in this place. She feels like she's a very in tune person, in tune with nature, with spirit, and herself. She knows and understands her own needs. That's why she stopped to make this drink for herself. The Ocotillo has exposed pink flowers on top of the stems. And they're very exposed, right? So maybe Adelita's heart is open and she wears it on her sleeve. But we also can see the spikes on the plant's body. So perhaps our Adelita knows when to show her spikes and protect her heart and spirit. The fact that she's making a drink for herself shows us that she knows how and when to take care of herself. I couldn't help but notice these clouds in the sky. They're quite big and puffy and noticeable, and it looks like the storm or something is coming towards her. But Adelita seems too busy making what she loves or what her spirit tells her to do to notice this. So this might indicate that sometimes she perhaps is too trusting of others, trusting that everything is going to be okay and that everything is gonna work out well. The day looks very warm and pleasant, and again this might be a hint to the element of fire because sunny day. Now let's look into what the guidebook says about this. So the first 3 points are: protect your heartwood but let your love blossom. Oh, I like that. Strong boundaries create healthy relationships. Give your whole heart to your cause. Okay, so Adelita of Water is committed to nurturing her spirit. She knows that time alone allows for the discovery of her innermost desires. As the inner heartwood of Ocotillo is used as sturdy building material, she vows to be a model of self-care. Just as the beautiful flowers of the Ocotillo remain safe at the top of the tall plant covered in hidden thorns, she shares her heart with brilliant flair while keeping it safe and protected from harm. She has a deeply caring center, but will battle to protect her boundaries when it comes to love. Now, this is a very different take to the Knight of Cups, in my opinion. I feel the Knight of Cups often has that negative energy to it where the person is too in the clouds, if you know what I mean. Like they're too lovey-dovey, too romantic or poetic, and can be carried away or get hurt often because they trust and stuff. But here in this card, it seems like she's very balanced. So she's very loving and giving love and care to herself and others, but also knows where the boundaries lie. And I like that a lot. It's a very balanced Knight of Cups or Adelita here. I love that. Now, if you look at the crafting points, oh, I like this one. Your boundaries are sacred. Grow a small cactus in a windowsill pot to remind you. Okay, and now let's move to our last Adelita, and that is the Adelita of Earth. And again, I'm not familiar with this plant, yucca. So my observations about this card were, the first thing that I noticed was a desert landscape, and it stands out for me, and the color of it is orange. So I connect this to the sacral chakra, which is about creative expression, but also to the element of fire. This might be a hint to the element of fire within Knight's suit, you know. Then I noticed that the conditions in the desert are rough, so one has to be very smart and thoughtful about how they will do things here. They need to have a good thought through plan and be persistent, endurant, calculated, determined, and focused in order to succeed in this environment. She is crafting or weaving, let's say she's weaving a Bridget's cross, which is interesting as she is in South America, and the Bridget's cross is associated with the Celtic traditions, and perhaps her ancestors come from there, and she's weaving together the ancient teachings from her ancestors with the ancestors of this desert, which is pretty cool. She's using her hands, which are connected to the heart chakra. Plus we see a lot of green in this picture as well, which is connected to the heart chakra. This means that she's creating coming from an open heart and love for her old traditions. The sky is very open and blue, like deep blue. Might suggest that her vision for what she is doing is clear and that she feels fully connected to the universe. Weaving the crosses looks like a precise activity that takes time and dedication, and that speaks of her character, in my opinion. It feels a very meditative activity as well. So she feels like a person who is calm, connected, but also grounded. So now let's look at what the guidebook says. So the first 3 points are: put a new spin on an old tradition. I really like that for the Knight of Earth. Ground your spirituality in practical ways, and to honor your ancestors, honor the land. Lovely. And what it says here about what I was talking about before, you know, the connection between the Bridget's Cross and the American ancestral teachings. It says here that she creates a bridge between her ancestors and the ancestors of the desert by doing this. So that's pretty cool. And also I got the same message from this card, which is amazing. So it continues that the Adelita of Earth is driven by the power of place. She explores new ways to embody old traditions using what is locally available to her without depleting resources. Oh my god, that's another point that is so amazing here. She knows yucca is used for weaving baskets, ropes, and shoes. With the spirit of her foremothers behind her, she vows to respect the people and medicine of her home. She explores nature's bounty and creates practical but intuitive connections with the land. And isn't that interesting? Because I said that she's very connected and, connected to the universe. She's committed to an earth-honoring spiritual path wherever she finds herself. She is in the service of nature without ego. I love that. She is realistic and hardworking. Realistic, that is another adjective here that is very appropriate for the Knight of Earth. Man, this deck is so good. Okay, so now let's look into the crafting. Okay, I love this one. Teach the power of place. Learn the story of the yucca moth and share it with others. I need to know. Learn this. I'm gonna Google what yucca moth is and let you know. Give me a moment. Okay, so I googled about yucca moth, and this is quite extraordinary. Listen to this. One of the most extraordinary partnerships between an insect and the plant that it pollinates is that of the yucca and the yucca moth. They're so interdependent that one cannot live without the other. Actually, there are a number of species of yucca, each with its corresponding partner, a species of, I'm not going to try to pronounce the Latin word of this. This mutually beneficial relationship probably started as a relationship of exploitation, with the moth feeding on the yucca. This is still the case with a number of close relatives of this plant family. The yucca moth is a nondescript, small, whitish moth that blends well with the color of the yucca blossoms, where it spends most of its brief adult life. A very distinctive feature of this moth is the absence of the long tongue, characteristics of the most moths and butterflies. Instead, it has tentacles around its mouth that serve a very important function and make possible its job as a pollinator. And then it goes on about how they, help each other to survive. But the point is here that we have two very different beings, right? That are coexisting together, and they are showing reciprocity. Literally what this whole deck is about. How amazing is that? It's literally what she's doing here. She is using the knowledge of her ancestors, but using the plant of a different place that she was born into. And she's creating that bridge. And this is what the moth and yucca plant also do, bridging two very different worlds, both benefiting. Isn't that incredible? Oh my goodness. Okay, so this was the episode about Adelitas. I hope you enjoyed it and perhaps learned something new, or perhaps you noticed something that I haven't noticed. Please let me know in the comments below. I'm always very happy to learn new things from you guys, and yes, I will see you again soon in the next episode, where we will be looking at the madres, so the queens of this deck. I hope you have a wonderful day, night, evening, morning, whatever the time is where you are, and I'll see you again soon. Bye bye.